Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. Sources said the government is planning to raise illegal parking fines to $400 with a 50% hike applied to more serious cases of traffic regulation violations. Discussions for the proposal are set to take place at the Legislative Council next Friday. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The government had earlier announced in its budget a possible increase in illegal parking fines as a method to tackle its deficit problem. This, as the Transport and Logistics Bureau noted on social media that the fines have not been adjusted for more than 3 decades, adding that the penalty for illegal parking is far higher in countries such as Singapore, the UK, and Australia. The government emphasized the need for a hike in fines in view of worsening illegal parking in the city. Sources said the proposed fine for illegal parking will go up from the current $320 to $400, which is a rise of 25%. But what do motorists think of this adjustment? This taxi driver said the $80 hike is too much, stressing that there aren't enough parking spaces for taxis. While this driver believes the increase in fines is reasonable, given that there was no adjustment for more than 30 years. However, some lawmakers believe the $80 hike is not enough to serve as a deterrent. Lawmaker Adrian Ho stressed motorists who regularly engage in illegal parking will not be deterred by the relatively small hike and called for more severe increases in fines. Meanwhile, the government also proposed to raise fines for other traffic-related offenses, including speeding and crossing double white lines inappropriately. Reports say the authorities are considering a preliminary hike of 50% for speeding, from between $320 and $1,000 to between $480 and $1,500. Those who use their phones while driving would also have to pay a $3,000 fine. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Sources say the government is also planning to gradually raise the license fee for electric vehicles over 3 years to around 70% of that for petrol vehicles. The Transport and Logistics Bureau noted that the average annual license fee for electric vehicles is around $1,000, while that for their petrol counterparts is around $7,500. As the current system increases the charge for car owners according to the weight of their electric vehicles, the proposed fee adjustment is aimed at balancing out the evolution of EV batteries as they become ever lighter. This as the government earlier announced its target of ceasing new registrations for petrol vehicles by 2035 in a bid to encourage residents to switch to the use of EVs. An investigation by the Office of the Ombudsman revealed a number of cases where some competent examiners signed safety certification forms without conducting proper inspections. The watchdog said the situations were simply absurd and the examiners involved should be held responsible for their reckless acts. Samantha Lee reports.
From 2018 to 2023, 108 fatal industrial accidents in construction works occurred, prompting widespread public concern. To investigate the government's regulation of occupational safety in the construction industry, the Office of the Ombudsman scrutinized over 90,000 pages of documents, including some 70 individual cases. Results showed numerous competent examiners had failed to properly inspect the plant or machinery before signing a prescribed form to certify its safety. Some even signed multiple forms in advance. These situations happened in high-risk operations, such as bamboo scaffolding and lifting operations. Last year, when the office staff conducted an inspection of bamboo scaffolding on the rooftop of a private building, they found the day written on the prescribed form was actually 2 days later. The competent examiner who signed the paper said the day was written mistakenly. The Labor Department later issued a warning to him. Another case was in July 2023, where a competent examiner admitted he signed the prescribed form before the scaffolding was built. He was fined $7,000 and referred to the police for a follow-up inspection. The office made 40 suggestions, such as launching an electronic platform for contractors and competent examiners to upload inspection records and forms. This in a bid to facilitate monitoring and help curb unprofessional or fraudulent conduct.
We recommend the Labor Department to require these examiners or certified persons to fill in a checklist of things that they have to, when they're checking the safety of these operations or appliances, they have to refer to the checklist to make sure that all the items on the checklist have been thoroughly checked.
According to the law, high-risk operations including bamboo scaffolding, suspended working platforms, lifting operations, and confined spaces can only be carried out after a competent examiner has certified their safety. A competent examiner can be a worker who has more than 10 years of work experience.
絕對係因為貪快。
Chelsea Kidd, the chairman of the Hong Kong Construction Industry Employees General Union, said it's difficult for workers to identify problems on documents. He urged workers to speak out if they find anything suspicious. The Labor Department said it will actively follow up on the recommendations, including adopting technology in law enforcement. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
President Xi is paying his second visit to Malaysia in 12 years as the second stop of his three-nation Southeast Asia tour. He met with Malaysia's King and Prime Minister earlier today to discuss trade and regional issues, and more bilateral pacts are expected to be signed. Xi said he welcomes more high-quality agricultural products from Malaysia to enter the Chinese market. He further noted China will work with members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to counter geopolitical and camp-based confrontation, unilateralism, and protectionism. Danny Zhou reports.
President Xi, who is on a three-day visit to Malaysia, was given a state welcome at the National Palace in Kuala Lumpur this morning. The military band's playing of national anthems of China and Malaysia was followed by a 21-gun salute by the Royal Artillery Regiment. The ceremony was hosted by Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia. Xi walked on a red carpet as he inspected the Guard of Honor on the sprawling palace grounds. Xi held a meeting with Sultan Ibrahim, during which he called for joint efforts to usher in new golden 50 years for bilateral ties. She then talked with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim on their relationship as well as international and regional issues of common concern. The Chinese leader landed in Malaysia Tuesday afternoon on the heels of his Vietnam trip. In a signed article published in Malaysian media, Xi urged the two countries to jointly build the Belt and Road Initiative and called for strength alignment of their development strategies and governance experience sharing. In the article, Xi also accentuated the need for upholding a multilateral trading system, saying, "We must keep global industrial and supply chains stable and maintain an international environment of openness and cooperation." China has remained the largest trading partner of Malaysia for 16 consecutive years, with the volume of trade reaching a record high of over $212 billion last year. Anwar, Prime Minister of Malaysia, told Chinese state media CGTN that Malaysia stands with Beijing on trade. He said this is not only for the well-being of the two peoples, but also for their national economic interests and overall development and stability. During Xi's stay in Malaysia, the discussion of a free trade agreement with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations is also high on the agenda. ASEAN Secretary-General reportedly said the deal is expected to bring more tariffs down to zero between China and members of the regional bloc. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, China's gross domestic product grew 5.4% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2025. The country's GDP reached 31.8758 trillion yuan, or about $4.42 trillion during that period. On a quarterly basis, the economy increased 1.2% in the first 3 months of the year. China's GDP grew 5% year-on-year last year. The country is targeting full-year economic growth at around 5% for 2025. However, analysts say China's economy could slow significantly in the coming months because of hikes in U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a probe into potential new tariffs on all U.S. critical minerals imports. Meanwhile, Beijing responded to a statement on the White House website indicating Chinese goods are now facing tariffs of up to 245% as a result of Beijing's retaliatory actions. Elsewhere in Canada, the Finance Ministry announced new measures for businesses and entities in the country affected by Trump's tariffs. The EU has also expressed hopes a trade deal with Washington could be reached. Daniel Rao reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an order directing his Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to begin a national security review under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. This is the same law Trump used in his first term to impose 25% global tariffs on steel and aluminium, and one he used in February to launch a probe into potential copper tariffs. In the order, Trump said U.S. dependency on minerals imports raises the potential for risks to national security, defense readiness, price stability, and economic prosperity and resilience. Within 180 days, Lutnick is required to report his findings to the president, including whether to impose tariffs. Were Trump to then impose a tariff on a nation's critical minerals, the rate would supersede the reciprocal tariffs he imposed earlier this month. The review will assess U.S. vulnerabilities for the processing of all critical minerals, including cobalt, nickel, and the 17 rare earths, as well as uranium. That's in addition to how foreign actors could be distorting markets and what steps could be taken to boost domestic supply and recycling, according to the order. China is a top global producer of 30 of the 50 minerals considered critical by the U.S. Geological Survey. Beijing has been curtailing its exports to the U.S. in recent months amid ongoing trade tensions with Washington. Meanwhile, China responded to the latest statement on the White House website that indicates U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods have been increased to 245%. The Foreign Ministry said the U.S. should provide the answers to journalists about the specific figure. The ministry added China has repeatedly stated its position on tariff issues. The tariff war was initiated by the U.S., and China has taken necessary countermeasures to safeguard its legitimate rights and international fairness and justice, which are entirely reasonable and legal. The ministry stressed there are no winners in tariff wars and trade wars, and China does not want to fight but is not afraid to fight. Meanwhile, in Canada, the Finance Ministry announced new measures for businesses and entities in the country affected by the tariff disputes between the U.S. and Canada. The measures include a performance-based remission framework which will allow automakers that continue to manufacture vehicles in Canada to import a certain number of US-assembled CUSMA-compliant vehicles into Canada, free of the countermeasure tariffs that Canada has imposed. The Canadian government will also provide temporary 6-month relief for goods imported from the US that are used in Canadian manufacturing, processing, and food and beverage packaging. Elsewhere, Spanish Economy Minister Carlos Cuerpo said he was convinced the United States and the European Union would negotiate a fair trade deal. Cuerpo made the comments after meeting with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in Washington. Cuerpo said his counterpart sent a clear message that confirmed the open door to negotiation that was already opened last week with the 90-day moratorium. Dan Rowell, TV News.
Welcome back. The U.S. confirmed its special envoy will hold a second meeting with Iran over Tehran's nuclear program this Saturday. Steve Witkoff will hold talks with Iranian counterparts in Oman again after the first meeting under the Trump administration last weekend. David Garrett reports.
Muscat in the Gulf state of Oman will be the venue again for the second round of nuclear talks between the US and Iran. Rumours of a second meeting in Rome were incorrect. Iran say round 2 will happen this Saturday and it will be back in Oman. The US did not confirm the venue but affirmed an imminent conversation, both sides guarded and not predicting too much too quickly.
In the words of Ambassador Witkoff, quote, a deal with Iran will only be completed if it is a Trump deal. Any final arrangement must set a framework for peace, stability, and prosperity in the Middle East, meaning that Iran must stop and eliminate its nuclear enrichment and weaponization program.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff briefly met last weekend, although most of the discussion was conducted in separate rooms with Oman mediating. President Trump spoke with Oman's leader and was briefed by the negotiating team in the last 24 hours in the White House Situation Room. Trump ditched a nuclear deal with Iran in his first term and expressed displeasure with the slow pace of talks earlier this week.
When things are being said in the moment, in public, you must consider that that's not part of how they negotiate in the sense of whatever they're talking about together. And that one should always wait and see that no one's negotiating in public, no one is.
Pressure is being applied to Iran. A second US aircraft carrier, the USS Carl Vinson, has been positioned in the Arabian Sea, targeting Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen. Finances could play a part. Iran's rial has plummeted to a record low against the US dollar since Trump took office. Inflation is running at 35%. This Tehran resident says people are having a really hard time. Fluctuations and instability are seriously bothering people. Another says now it's got to where people don't know what to do. People are worried about the future. Iran's supreme leader was not making predictions about how talks with the US will turn out. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei giving little away when he told officials, "We're neither overly optimistic nor overly pessimistic. We are, of course, pessimistic about the other side because we don't trust them. We are optimistic about our capabilities." David Garrett, TVB News.
Starting next Tuesday, the police will start video recording enforcement operations using the Transport Department's CCTV system to combat behavior such as illegal parking at 4 traffic violation hotspots on Hong Kong Island. Sakura Ip has more.
Time goes slowly at the intersection of Queen's Road Central and Icehouse Street. Traffic congestion has already hit before peak hours. Vehicles stopping on the roadside to pick up and drop off passengers have made the congestion worse. The other 3 traffic violation hotspots include the intersections of Queen's Road Central and Pedder Street, Queen's Road Central and Bonham Strand, and Queen's Road East and Wong Nai Chung Road. Starting next Tuesday, police will use the Transport Department's existing monitoring system and CCTVs at these 4 locations to record footage for enforcement, targeting illegal parking, pickups, drop-offs and yellow box violations. Tickets will be issued to drivers once the violation is confirmed. Some drivers support the new operation, even though it is inconvenient.
It's a long time, maybe 5 to 10 minutes before you come back here.
This mover said that he supports the new arrangement and it is already very difficult for them to unload here because of double parking. Instead of allocating more manpower on site, the police said that the project aims to provide flexibility and enhance enforcement effectiveness to solve the long-standing problems at these locations.
We are targeting those affecting public safety and those causing serious obstruction to public peak hour like morning peak or evening peak. When the traffic congestion is very serious, our officers will mainly focus on those period of time for traffic enforcement.
How many tickets can you get if you get spotted? The police revised their guidelines a couple years ago, stating that officers can issue a second ticket to a vehicle 30 minutes after the first ticket is issued. This means that user could receive 3 to 4 tickets if they double park for around 2 hours. The recordings will also be used to address traffic accidents and unexpected incidents on the road. The police have mentioned that the system does not have additional artificial intelligence features such as facial recognition. It can't be used to deal with jaywalking.
Police will distribute flyers at 4 selected locations to road users about the new operation. Police will also review the operation after 3 months to consider if it will be expanded to other districts. Sakarib, TVB News.
Eligible local residents will be able to go through immigration without presenting their travel documents or encrypted QR codes, as the Immigration Department is set to introduce new e-channels at the airport in the 3rd quarter of this year. Celine Chan tells us more.
A total of over 41 million arrivals and departures were recorded at the Hong Kong International Airport control point last year. To further boost efficiency, the Immigration Department will introduce new e-channels at the HKIA control point for arriving passengers in the 3rd quarter of this year. Eligible local residents would then be able to enjoy a hands-free immigration experience, as they would no longer need to present their travel documents or encrypted QR codes at the e-channels. The channels adopt facial recognition screenings, and the entire process would only take 7 seconds. The department believes the arrangement can further enhance passengers' overall experience. Since March 31st, eligible children aged 7 or above who hold a smart identity card and a valid HKSAR passport can also go through e-channels at various control points. In just 2 weeks, more than 27,000 children have already tried out the service. Immigration staff were arranged to assist them. There is a total of 66 e-channels at the airport for arriving and departing passengers, and the department has been working closely with the airport authority to assess the feasibility of adding more e-channels.
Our frontline officers, we require them to treat all the passengers nicely and make sure they're going back home every time.
Through constantly improving its services, the Immigration Department outperformed its counterpart at Singapore's Changi Airport and won the 2025 Skytrax Award for Best Airport Immigration Service in the World Passenger Survey commissioned by Skytrax, marking the department's 5th time claiming the title. The Immigration Department said it will continue leveraging innovative technologies to introduce more facilitation measures and deliver the best immigration services to passengers. Celine Chan, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.